Hello guys, today in Filter Wars we're going to talk about the sponge filter versus the Matten filter. How the sponge filter works. It's driven by air. Air gets pumped into the center of the sponge, displaces the water. As the bubbles rise through the lift tube, it pulls water up with it, forcing more water through the sponge, where the sponge collects particles and grows beneficial bacteria. And it's held in place by a weighted base or suction cups depending on the brand and model. A Matten filter. The sponge is secured in place by either being cut to fit tightly between the front and rear panel of the aquarium, like you see in the bottom picture, or being placed behind two glass tabs and bent at an angle like you see in the top picture, both of which create a cavity behind the sponge for your pump. The pump pulls water from out in behind the sponge, pumps it out into the main aquarium. Having that water displaced causes water from the main aquarium to flow through the sponge to fill the cavity behind the sponge, since the sponge is porous, and it again catches the particles and houses your beneficial bacteria. Money. Sponge filters are very cost effective, ranging in price from $5 up to as high as $20. I picked out a Bacto Surge high density foam filter for $8.30. which was well oversized for a 29-gallon aquarium, and with air pump, air stone, tubing, and everything, it came to $23 to run that filter. Matten filters can be cheap or expensive, but the thing of them is you usually have to build them yourself. There are kits that are sold, but most of those kits do not include the pump or the power head. So, depending on if you already have the PVC or the pump or the power head, the price is going to be different. It can be anywhere from $15 if you just need the sponge to $70 or $80 if you have to buy sponge, PVC, glass tabs, pumps, everything. Appearance. Both of them, everything is in the aquarium. With a sponge filter, the only piece of equipment outside the aquarium is the air pump. They both take up space. They're both bulky looking. It can be very glaring depending on that sponge collar. Especially with a Matten filter, you can see that bright blue sponge on the bottom right where that corner filter is installed. Some people let plants grow over the sponge to hide it. You can see here what I was talking about on that last slide with the corner filter being behind the glass tabs. You can see the glass tabs have been siliconed in place and that sponge is bent to where it fits tightly behind those glass tabs and creates that cavity in the corner of the aquarium. Pros of each: they're super easy once they're going. Sponge filters are easy to clean, easy to access, great biofilters. The sponges on both of them are fantastic for fry. You can run multiple sponge filters on a large pump. You can only run one Matten filter on a pump. You get good surface agitation with both. With a sponge filter, you're doing double duty, using a filter and an air stone all at one time. Lots of customizations and modifications for each. One good thing about a Matten filter is that sponge can be used to hide your other equipment. Your pump, your heater, your air stone, all can be hidden behind the sponge in that cavity that you create. They're customizable. You can put the output near the surface so that it gets good surface agitation. And one thing about a Matten filter is I've known people who have gone a year or longer before needing to clean their Matten filter. So once you have that filter running, you can go a very long time before it needs to be cleaned. Cons of each: they're both super bulky in the aquarium. With sponge filter, that air pump can be loud. Both of them, that sponge and the collar, can detract from the look of your aquarium if it's a display tank. They can both be messy when it is time to clean. With a sponge filter, you have to have some kind of lid to stop the bubbles from causing a mist and splatter outside of the aquarium. With sponge filters also, suction cup models often don't hold in place well. With a Matten filter, one of the big issues is if your aquarium is already running, you have to tear down the aquarium to install those glass tabs if you want to go with a corner model where you can hide the filter in a back corner. Otherwise, you have to get those models that go from between the front and back panel. You don't have to tear down your aquarium for those, but those are even more detracting from the look of your aquarium than the corner filter that you can hide behind plants in that back corner. And a Matten filter can be expensive and time consuming to get started. So my opinion, These filters are so close to the same, it's hard to pick one over the other. It comes down to what you want in your aquarium and which one works best for you and your situation. If you're starting a new aquarium, you may want to install that corner Matten filter. If you have your aquarium up and running, you don't want to tear it down, then the sponge filter would be the way to go. If you have a pump or power head laying around, you may be better off to buy the sponge and build a Matten filter. If you don't have anything, if you have an air pump laying around, you're better off to go with the sponge filter. Pick the one that works best for you, pick the one that meets your needs, and both of these are excellent filters and you won't be disappointed.